I've seen way too many people splurge on a $50 budget UPS only to find it shuts down the moment the power flickers, leaving a laptop or a home office router dead and a whole afternoon of work gone. The regret is real. You think you're saving money, but the cheap unit can't handle the voltage spikes that even a modest office sees on a daily basis. So the question is, does the APC 3000VA Smart UPS feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another pricey gadget that will sit half-used in a closet? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you're running a desktop, a couple of monitors, a NAS and maybe a VoIP phone, you need something that can keep all that equipment alive for at least a few minutes while the utility restores power. The first thing I looked at was the capacity, 3000 VA, which translates to about 2700 W of usable power. That's a step up from the 1500 VA models that most beginners start with, and it means you can actually support a full workstation and its peripherals without constantly tripping the overload alarm. The rating alone isn't the whole story, though. You have to see how it behaves when the lights actually flicker. The biggest practical strength of this APC unit is the pure sine wave output. Many lower-priced UPSs settle for a simulated or stepped wave, which can make certain power supplies, especially those in high-end PCs, laser printers, or medical-grade equipment, run noisy or even refuse to start. With a true sine wave, the UPS mimics the clean power you get from the grid, so you won't hear that high-pitched whine from your monitor or see error codes on a 3D printer. In my own setup, I plugged a desktop with a 650W power supply, a 27-inch 4K monitor, a router, and a small external drive. When I simulated a brownout using a dimmer, the UPS's automatic voltage regulation, AVR, stepped in instantly, raising the sagging voltage back up to safe levels without ever dipping into battery mode. That saved the battery for an actual outage and gave me an extra 510 minutes of runtime before the UPS had to switch to battery. Speaking of runtime, the APC's battery pack gives roughly 8 minutes at a 50% load, which is exactly the window most people need to either save their work and shut down gracefully or let an automatic shutdown script do the heavy lifting. If you're running a full load, say the desktop, 2 monitors and the NAS all pulling top power, you'll see the runtime drop to around 3 minutes. That's still enough to avoid a hard crash, but it does highlight the hidden trade-off. The bigger the capacity, the heavier and bulkier the unit, and the battery life under full load will never be marathon level. If you only need to protect a single laptop and a router, you're probably paying for power you'll never use. Another strength that often gets lost in the spec sheet is the APC SmartConnect feature. It's a cloud-based monitoring portal that lets you see the UPS status from any browser or phone app, without having to install a client on each machine. In a home office where you have a desktop in the study and a small server in the basement, being able to check battery health, input voltage, and estimated runtime from your phone is a real convenience. The interface is straightforward. You just register the unit with your APC account, and the UPS starts sending data over its Ethernet port. For anyone who's comfortable with a bit of network setup, that remote visibility is a genuine time saver. If you're a total technophobe, you can still use the simple LCD panel on the front, but you'll miss out on push notifications that warn you when the battery needs replacement. Now let's talk about who should actually buy this thing. If you run a small business, a content creation studio, or a home office with multiple devices that can't afford a sudden power loss, the 3000 VA capacity and sine wave output are worth the price tag. It's also a solid choice for protecting network gear, switches, routers, and modems, because those devices are sensitive to voltage fluctuations and often stay on the 24th of July. The AVR means you won't constantly be draining the battery on minor sags, extending the overall lifespan of the internal battery pack. On the flip side, if your setup is modest, maybe just a laptop charger and a Wi-Fi router, you'll likely be overpaying. A 1500 VA unit would cover those loads with plenty of headroom, and you'd save on both upfront cost and the physical footprint. The APC's size is roughly that of a small desktop tower. You'll need a dedicated spot on the floor or a sturdy shelf. It also weighs around 65 pounds, so moving it later isn't a weekend project. If you're renting an apartment and can't commit to a heavy piece of equipment, you might look for a lighter, lower capacity UPS. There are a few practical weaknesses to keep in mind. First, the battery is not user replaceable in the sense that you can just